And I would like to invite Elnora to come down. And she is a PhD student at the Research Group for Analytical Food Chemistry. And she'll be talking to us about the formation and bio-accessibility of processing contaminants in plant-based foods. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, hi. In my PhD studies, I study specifically the formation of different processing contaminants and plant-based foods. But today, I'm here to talk about specifically plant-based meat substitutes. So, plant-based diets actually have been a long part of human history. And later, this concept has been embraced more because of many different reasons we discussed today. And in order to appease customer preferences, plant-based meat substitutes were also introduced into the market. And although the consumption of these types of products remains low compared to the conventional meat, the consumption has been still steadily growing over the past few years. And it doesn't matter how can you decide to classify those products, for example, based on a type of raw ingredients used for productions, or the type of meat of being mimicked, it still remains a fairly novel subject to the field of chemical food analysis. And it is still uncertain whether the consumption of these types of foods can have some sort of negative health implications. And when we talk about processing contaminants, we think about the chemicals that form specifically in your food. So the chemical contamination does not necessarily come from the environment. Sometimes it can be formed as a result of the heat treatment of your food product due to the interaction of amino acids and carbohydrates. A primary example of that would be the formation of acrylamide, and usually when you mention acrylamide you get understanding notes from the audience, but acrylamide in this case is just the tip of the iceberg because it's a mixture of compounds, and you can also detect, for example, volatile furanes or furane derivatives, and most of these compounds, even the reaction intermediates, can trigger some sort of inflammatory responses in your body. And other types of contamination also include the formation of polycyclic organic hydrocarbons, or MCPDs, which come from the conversion of fatty acids in a mixture. You also get mycotoxins that are present in mixture, and metabolites of different pesticides. So we don't actually know what's in our burger. And what's actually challenging in this case with processing contaminants, it's quite hard to control the uptake of these chemicals, since consumers are asked themselves to subject their food to heat treatment. So we cannot control the amounts of formed chemicals. But one thing for certain, we can also influence the formulation of our product. Take these beetroot patties, for example. So they are produced as a blend between, of course, beetroot, and then sweet potato is added as a flavor and structure enhancer. So how would acrylamide form in this product? It would start as the transformation and decomposition of reducing sugars. And since acrylamide is being produced in a browning reaction, the progression of reaction would be immediately reflected on the food outlook. But actually, acrylamide is being formed with those sugar decomposition products when they are reacting with asparagine. So how does, the reaction end is signified by the formation of those browning compounds. So how does that connect to the formulation of our product? Well, beetroot has an exceptionally high amount of reducing sugars, but asparagine, which yields the highest amounts of acrylamide, is one of the most abundant amino acids in potatoes. So this all could be avoided if we added, for example, some kind of antioxidants or different chemicals, so by manipulating our formulation of the product. So in our experiment, those beetroot patties were one of the many products that were subjected to the conditions that are meant to simulate home cooking conditions. So what we found that is the composition of your product actually significantly correlates with the amount of formed acrylamide. The amounts of acrylamide that were found in treated samples were also compared to untreated ones to see which processing stage is actually influencing the formation of acrylamide, of course. Then, taking the same sample as an example, we also looked at the formation of acrylamide at different heating temperatures or heating time. We also showed that all throughout the tested scenarios, the acrylamide formation rates only rose. So whenever if you're over frying your food, you're getting more processing contaminants, and there's no point where the reaction slows down. So at the end, what I wanted to say is that this field is still particularly lacks of research, and there's nothing. There are some preliminary studies presented about different contaminants. For example, this one about acrylamide, but this is just one minor piece of puzzle. Since we don't have any research in this area, the lawmakers and the manufacturers cannot set rules for the processing of these type of food. And also, even if in the research field people are particularly aware of these chemicals, still average consumer does not know anything about the formation of cancerogenic compounds in their food. So what could be done in this case is the cooperation between the lawmakers, manufacturers, and the researchers is required really highly at this point. Thank you.
Just wait a second. Thank you very much indeed. We're actually way ahead of schedule, so there's plenty of time for lots of questions. Who would like to go first?
So I'm the non-academic person, consumer who is not aware. Does it mean that it's at this point in time it's more dangerous for a human being to eat a burger that is plant-based than a burger that is made of meat?
Well, that's a kind of complicated question, I would say, but usually the first recommendation is not to over-process your food and have as diverse diet as you can, because acrylamide is only one thing, and there is a bunch of risk sources that were not estimated yet for these types of products. So of course you should introduce more plants in your diet, but also do not be too fanatic about it. Yes.
Thank you very much. I think there was another hand, yes?
Thank you. That was a nice presentation. But I was wondering, when you showed the graphs, there was a lot more variance in the longer you heat it. Where does that come from?
It's mostly depends on the experimental conditions. So the variance came from different repetitions. So it also, because your plate is not heated equally in all places, there comes the variance in our results. And also the patties themselves, they're not completely identical. So we cannot ensure that it's the given a result will be repeated every time to the exact same amount.
Thank you very much. We still have some more time. Anybody else like to ask a question? Yes? Very good. You're welcome.
Then I'm wondering, what would you recommend food formulation scientists to do? Like, should they consult more risk analysis beforehand because there's so little known in plant-based foods? Because I think if you're food formulation or more they have more of a sensory approach, and they look at the texture and the taste and not necessarily at the toxins that can be formed.
Yeah, for example, there are many conditions in terms of food formulations that can be changed. For example, back to the acrylamide formation and reduction will also depend on the amino acid composition. So, for example, if not removing some sort of, for example, the amount of added potatoes, for example, you can substitute those with something else. You can use most of the manufacturers that produce vegan food, they also add vitamins or different additives to improve the nutritional quality of the food. And when the reaction proceeds, the reaction intermediates will also interact with those. So that might also reduce the amount of different compounds formed in a mixture. That would be the short answer.
Very good, thank you.